Hello guys, this is Oxinity channel on education. My name is Rob. I'm here with Carlos today in Barcelona. We have hello. We have Radmila in Mataró, and
Hi guys.
finally we have Graham who's in Malaga with us today.
Hi guys.
So warm welcome to you all. Nice to see you on our last meeting
You
before Christmas.
too.
So we have the little
We have a cagatillo.
a little cagatillo here, traditional Catalan. But anyway, so Radmila, you're going to tell us what we're talking about today, right?
Yes, we're going to talk about Oxbridge because a lot has been said lately about Oxinity, how we envision our business model, about how teachers can grow and how students can best promote themselves. But today we'd like to pay tribute to all the teachers that created our teaching system, which is Oxbridge, where it all started. So let's go back to our system, our values, the ethos behind the Oxbridge English teaching system. That's what we are going to talk about. So let's get started with just the main difference between a system and a method, because most of the schools talk about their method and then they explain what their methodology is, but we emphasize our system. So Graham and all of you guys, what is the difference between a system and a method?
Right. Okay. So there's lots of methodology that apply, and we don't use one. We use them all. We cherry pick, and I guess to be able to tailor make any teaching, you have to use them all. So the most important thing I think about our system is that we don't we allow students the opportunity to fail. They don't have to get it right first time. It's all about repetition. It's all about getting them to communicate, use the language, use the structures, and hopefully over a period of time, some of it will stick, and they'll have those eureka moments when they're like, "I got this now." But it's okay for them to do it once and to go through it and to not get it first time. It's repetitive. We're not testing them. We're not setting them up to pass a result. We want this to stick long term. So we're looking at all the methodologies and all the approaches to make our system.
Excellent. And Rob, and again, all of you guys, if you were to explain the Oxbridge English teaching system to the students and the teachers, how would you define it? What would you tell them?
Yeah, so a bit like Graham mentioned then, we've kind of done away with this whole idea of just training people to pass an exam, memorize, write it down on a paper and then forget it, which tends to happen a lot of the time. So we've done away with that, and we kind of aim to teach in certain situations, so people who want to go and travel maybe, or for an interview or something, so we teach sort of based on situations.
I think we have to remember that it's a fun way to learn. No, it's not about memorizing vocabulary words. It's not just repetition. I mean, it is, but in a fun way.
Yeah. And if you can sit down with someone and have a coffee maybe, and teach in a relaxed environment, I would say all the classes are very relaxed as well, but learning, but in a fun and relaxed way.
Exactly. I think fun is the important word, no?
Yeah. So, if I think back to when I was in school, right, the classes I enjoyed the most and took away from the most were the ones that I could have fun in as well at the same time, right? A teacher who would be dynamic and fun, and I would enjoy it, but I would also learn as well. And so I think all of us try to model these teachers now when we're teaching ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. I think it comes from the approach as well. Isn't it? Like we don't have academies. We don't sit in a classroom to teach. The English language or any language is alive. So we're doing stuff in cafes and bars. We're trying to have fun. We're trying to keep it communicative, keep it real, and leaning towards that way you learn your own first language. Trying to work that way rather than here's some gap fillers, crack on. We're really trying to keep it real.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
In this regard, the teacher's role is completely different with the system, isn't it?
Well, yes, because we're not authorities here. No, we're guides. We are helping the student learn. Like we're guiding through a map of the language. And there is no rigid way of learning. It's not like you pick up a book and you go page by page It's more of today we're doing this, tomorrow we do something else,
Yeah.
and put it together. And our method is always live, meaning that we're always talking about subjects that are current, today's topic, important topics. Based on news stories, based on something happening in their cities or in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So you get more interaction,
Yeah.
with your students.
I think that's one of the big sort of advantage of the system that I know we'll probably come on to talk about in a bit. But yeah, I think the fact that we've got current news and live information, then that makes a big difference.
If your students ask what they can do to reinforce their learning, what would your advice be?
Well, I always say watch movies
Yeah.
in English. Read a book, read a newspaper. Radio podcasting is very in now. People
Yeah.
are doing that a lot. So, but you always get that feedback. Oh, I don't understand, or I don't have. It's scary at the beginning, but I give them the choice. You can listen or you can read, as long as it's in English. Don't use reading in Spanish to try to learn English. You have to listen. You have to educate the ear to phrases and to language.
The language,
Yeah.
I guess that's the advantage of a reading, right? That if you're listening, you're hearing an accent, you're hearing the language, you're hearing the pronunciation, and so that's always a benefit.
And I always have them read out loud them to me, because then I can listen to how they're expressing, and we can correct their pronunciations, and they can listen to themselves. And sometimes I'll read it back to them, and they can hear the difference and try to understand how to make the change.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think it depends on, but a lot of it will depend on the text that I have and the level of the students, because if I feel the text is quite difficult for the level of the student, then I tend to read a lot more than if, say, it's an easier text for them, and then maybe practice the pronunciation a little bit more. But
Right, and let's not forget that we also have to challenge.
Of
We also
course.
have to challenge.
Of course.
And I had students who have very little English, and I'm having them read. And even if 90% of it is wrong, I'll correct them along the way, so that they can, don't be so shy about, reading, especially when they're reading in front of me, because we have a connection. So they feel comfortable, it's relaxed.
Right.
They can make all the mistakes they want, we'll fix them. No?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a great way to learn.
Okay, and while some other institutions would put a clear preference on the student, on their needs, and would try by all means please the student, our main focus stays with the teacher. So why, in your opinion, is so important to take care of the teachers and the teachers' needs in the first place?
Graham?
Well, if you have an unhappy teacher, they're frustrated. I think it's important to go to your class and feel that you're valued as a teacher. If you're getting underpaid and overworked, no one wants to be in that situation. I think having the ability to continue your learning and being in a supportive environment is massive. To feel confident in what you're doing, to get feedback from other teachers, and to give feedback too, to almost kind of like give yourself some status is good as well. And when you share your ideas and you get positive feedback, it reinforces your belief in what you're doing. So looking after the teachers, well, it's one of the two main tools of the teaching process is the teacher and the material. So you have to.
I can hear, but there are different ways to take care of the teacher. Like you say, we creating activities, helping us create activities that are current, that are new, that we can work together and have this family to go ahead and have good activities for our students.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think with the materials that they have, They have to follow a certain structure that we all understand.
Yeah.
You know, and meet certain standards that we all agree to, and then it makes teaching so much easier. I mean, no matter what your teaching style is, if you have that safety blanket of good teaching material that you understand, you can be you can express your style as a teacher, and you can feel confident. And also, I mean, one of the things that's really good about having prepared classwork is you're then free to enjoy your life.
Yeah.
You know, I work 20 hours a week teaching. I'm not spending 20 hours a week preparing my classes, which is unpaid work, which happens quite a lot when teachers first start, especially if you're in an academy or for certain groups. They'll just be like, here's your classes, do what you want, and thank you very much.
Yeah.
And it's quite stressful, especially when you first qualify. Having well laid out materials make your life easy. You can concentrate on your skills and make sure that you're actually, you know, doing those things you were talking about earlier, Carlos. You know, working on the pronunciation and getting them to express themselves. And you can't do that without good material. And you're a stressed teacher if you have to do it all yourself, for sure.
Yeah, that is true. That's what exactly. We relax ourselves. The student gets relaxed. We can learn together. You know.
Team effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. But in order to create all this material with high standard, there's a lot of effort so in it as well, and a lot of resources. And Rob, how can you explain us how the whole process goes of from creativity to correcting it and putting it in the system? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so we'll have a specific sort of aim, if you like. So whether it's an activity that we need to create based on a structure, you know, or whether it's a topic, and so the teacher will then, from this specification, create an activity. This is then sent to correction, where it's double checked to make sure that there's no typos, everything is okay, you know, the content is good, etc., etc. And then it's live and ready for us all to use, which I think is great, because we're all creating activities all the time. You know, myself, Carlos, I know you do, Graham, everybody does activities. Like we said before, it makes it live, so you know it's current, it's up to date, it's you know, it's user friendly as well, which I think is an important thing.
And it's editable, so we can edit on the class.
Yeah.
So if there's something that we need to change or add, or some news has happened in the last day, 24 hours, maybe 6 hours, you can quickly edit the lesson.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest advantage. One of the biggest advantages that we have here. This whole sort of collaborative system that we've got going. You know, we all work together to create really good activities, and yeah, I think it sets us apart from maybe other academies and schools, whatever.
I agree, and I was going to say just for how we create activities that we're kind of working towards. Certainly, been getting more focus on the model that we actually use to create the activity. We use present, practice, produce. Now I know probably people have had it up to hear me saying that over the last year or so, but it frees you up to apply your style, and it also works really well with the model that Oxbridge wants to present. If you get your present stage, you can use either the classic grammar translation method, like expressing the rule, or you can deductively teach them. Now, if we create activities in this format, it allows you to do both. You know, and you've got your practice stage. It's got lots of great ways for them to be in a comfortable place to practice. And in the produce stage. And one of the things that we do when we're creating activities, which I really like, we're not testing them at any point. It's like we do test to see, so we can form an assessment, but they don't fail. You know, we're not saying, hey, you failed at anything. We're kind of going, okay, here's where you're at. And then we as teachers can then put that little smiley face or that sad face. We can rate the materials, and then we can decide whether to do it again or do something similar from the syllabus. And it helps. The way our materials are laid out really helps the teachers. We know what we're doing every time we see an activity. You know, we're like, okay, I've got a structure activity, a vocabulary activity. I'm looking at accuracy. I want to show them it. They can work it out. We practice it, produce it, move on. And we all know what we're doing every time we've got it, because they're made like. And the more we make them like this, the easier it is to teach. And the students just get that continuous communicative environment. And hopefully, some point along the line, they're going to click and they're going to get it. And that's that's our materials, and that's teacher to feel confident because they know what they're doing, because it's all presented this way,
Yeah.
And let's not forget that in the application of Obscenity, they have access to all the vocabulary, all the activity. They can review at their time.
Totally.
Before the class, after the class, on the weekend, when they're bored, on the bus, on the train. It doesn't matter. They can review the vocabulary. They can review the sentence. They can hear the pronunciation. So it's always good. I always ask my students, have you reviewed the activities? Do you know what we're doing today? A lot of the times I get a positive response, and then we can review what they have, if they have any questions. But sometimes they don't do it, and that's okay because they can do it after.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they've still got access to it, so they can do it right now.
They can access it, so they can do it after, before. Our job is to present it and to make sure they understand it, and they can remember and recollect and learn. No?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a comment in this regard, Rob.
Yeah, so we got a comment from Ash. So it's a little bit what we were talking about before in terms of maybe students, what they can do after class to learn, to keep practicing. So he said there's a huge selection of podcasts now on Spotify, and most people have Spotify nowadays. So Espresso English is an excellent one to help them learn. So we got this a little, for those of you who didn't know it, Espresso English apparently is quite good. So you can recommend that next
We'll
time.
make note of that and give it to my students. There you go. Definitely. Any other suggestions besides Espresso English? Any other ideas?
I tend to do a lot what you've said about movies or short films, especially a movie that they know well, because they kind of know the plot and they know what's going to happen, and so they, if it's a movie you've got no idea and you're kind of learning English, then you'll struggle a bit more. But if it's a movie that their favorite movie that they know more or less off by heart, then they can do that with subtitles as well. Finds help. Often if it's in English with subtitles in English, so then they can hear and follow along as well. And then, like you said, same as you said before, articles. If they're interested in tennis, then read an article about tennis or something like that. Something that interests them, I find myself reading football in Spanish because, I'm into football, so I'd rather read the Spanish football in the newspaper than something else, so I find that helps me a lot more.
Right. Well, a lot of the students have specific requests like business learning, healthcare, something related to their job. IT, I have a lot of IT students.
Yeah.
So we're able to accommodate those requests, and we can learn together. And sometimes they bring their own materials. So sometimes students bring. I have this thing. And we can definitely.
Yeah, I've had students who brought, sort of, I've got this presentation next week, can we practice it for some time? And we spend, a bit of the class or half the class practicing their presentation.
It's all part of the process.
Yeah.
It's all part of the process, sure.
Excellent. And quality and standards, it's, we refer to standards in our activities and classroom. So where does it all start, or how do we ensure high standards?
I guess the induction, the training, when when it ends, we're spending 2 weeks with them, and we're going over. I think they spend 4 hours with me just working on activity. The TEFL students who are programmed spend a lot of time relating not just understanding the activities we use, but also how to apply all the theory to it and see where it comes from. Realize it's not just me saying I need you to do this, for them actually understanding why it works and the process, and starting to realize that there isn't strict methodology that the Oxbridge teaching system follows. It uses them all, and you're free to use them all. So it comes from that. It comes from initial training, and I guess for teachers who've been working for a while, it's about retraining. It's about looking at your notes and constantly reading. We only get trained over weeks, so it's about checking yourself, looking at any new methodology, seeing if you can, because the Oxbridge teaching system it changes. If there's something new that comes out, we're going to look at it. We're going to see what it is, and we're going to try and apply it to do. We're not stuck in our ways and what we do. So if there's anything new to use, then we go for it, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's true. I think we're always learning from each other as well, right? Sometimes I see an activity which has got like a part of it's this, I don't know, a game or something like that. I thought, I've never actually thought of that, but I like that. That's a cool idea. I'm gonna put that in the next activity I create or something like that, you know? And the best way.
You know the classic gap fillers like to do, and we all hate that they're useless for teaching. I've got this one of the students I just worked with, Alejandra, and she loves GIFs, and she's done like gap fillers with GIFs. So instead of like you replace the verb with the GIF, and I was like, that was new to me because like too old to learn some of these new things, but she was showing me where to find these GIFs and how useful they are, because they're like, it's quite like reality, you know, a little video snap of them. It's about as close as first language acquisition as you can get, seeing a little video of something, you know, and it was awesome. So like, you're always learning, I guess, from each other, right? Especially younger people who come and work for the company from
Definitely. Guys, role models. Who did you learn from? Do you remember someone outstanding from our community that you learned from?
Ooh, go ahead, Graham. You just start. Go ahead.
No, I've just got a funny story from the Christmas party on Wednesday night. I'd always been referring to a guy called Matthew Hammond. The students would be telling me he had this great technique, blah blah. And I got introduced to a guy called Matt at the party. I didn't put the two together, and all of a sudden Matt's like, "I'm going to show you my book, Greg." And I'm like, "Why is this guy showing my book?" You know. And I clocked, "You're Matthew Hammond." Now Matthew Hammond's someone I've liked. When he's teaching a student, he uses delayed error correction a lot. So he always writes in his book and then uses it at the end. So like he's definitely someone that improved my teaching, because that was something I thought I didn't summarize enough at the end of a class, and getting feedback from other students, I learned about his technique and I've started using it, and it works a treat. So he's a small model for him. Not too much ego for you, Matt.
Excellent. And what about?
I think we all learn when we start the process, watching other teachers do the classes, and we're able to watch a number of teachers do the class, and you learn different methods or different ways teachers do it, and you pick the best that works for you.
Yeah. I think that's a huge benefit, right? I'm not going to name any one specific teacher, but the fact that when I was training, I saw 9, 10, 11 teachers during that process, I can definitely say I took something from every single one of those people, you know, and I took all the positives, and like you said, tried to put it together and try to apply it to myself. And so, there's lots of people.
I remember. I mean, I like you did 10 or 11 or 12 teachers, and it was learning from each one, you know, and trying to remember.
What did you learn the most? Put you on the spot here.
I think not to be rigid. Not to be like, okay, today we have this activity, we have to learn all these words now, and you got 10 minutes to do this. You know, it's to learn to go with the flow and to create a flow, and it's not to be so rigid. I think I learned that really fast. You know, because when you first start, you think you're doing a good job by doing everything, you know, but then quickly you realize it's just, you know, you need to just let it happen, and
Excellent. And Rob, been correcting activities for a long time. Do you remember some great writers? Although in our system we've involved more than 1,000 teachers, so all have left their footprint. But do you remember any great activity writers?
I mean, there's lots of people. There's lots of Carlos, obviously, he's next to me, so I have to say that because otherwise the Christmas tree will be thrown at me. But no, there's lots of people who create really good activities. Paulina, Eva, look, there's millions of people. I can't name them all because there's people across the place. Graham in Malaga, that we've got lots of people in Madrid, people in Barcelona. Everybody
who's watching. They're all great.
No, everybody. You know, it's very difficult to say because I think each person has their own style, let's say, right? So often, without even looking at a name, I can see an activity and I can kind of guess who's maybe done it. I think we've all got our own style, and I think each person has something brilliant about them in terms of creating activities.
I agree.
Very politically correct.
Yeah, I should be a politician.
You should be a politician.
Excellent. Can you see it, Rob?
Yeah. So, a quick one from Omar. Is there a big difference between teaching older students and younger students? What is the main difference, Carlos?
Oh, wow.
I'll put you on the spot again.
Patience.
Patience.
Lots of patience.
Graham?
Quite a few. I mean, I guess whatever more. And sometimes you teach your methodology. I mean, I think a lot of people use TPR, like get kids to up and move and be physical. I like using it with adults too because I'm a big kid. But yeah, you've got to be engaging. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm teaching a teenager, I have to research because I have no idea what's cool, and I don't want to come across like a fuddy-duddy. So I make sure I know what's going on. That's the biggest thing. I can teach adults because they're the same age as me, most of them. But kids, I find the preparation of activities is really hard.
It's true. Yeah. We have a comment from Autumn who says, I teach children and teens and we always talk about music, so sometimes in class we'll do an activity on lyric training, which is always good. I find, especially with kids and teens, music lots of times helps. I think I've said before to you guys, but some classes I'll get them to ask me, tell me a song that they want to do, and the following class we'll have a look at the lyrics and,
That's a good way to teach about feelings and phrasal verbs, songs.
And stuff like gonna, wanna, shoulda, all this type of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Very informal language, slang, colloquial language, street talk.
And that's what they hear on the radio, and that's what they want to learn, ultimately.
Yeah, because it's how we
I found myself having to listen to reggae. Kids like these days. It's killing me. But there's a program on Netflix about Nicky Jam, just to learn the history of it, so I can talk to people about reggaeton. It's killer.
You don't know reggaeton,
So some I just refuse to listen to.
Nice. Guys, we don't. But before we go, any Christmas wish for your students?
Wow.
Oh, you put me on the spot now. Carlos got his revenge. It's my turn now. Nicely played. No, I've had lots of students who, I mean, I don't want to say it's this whole kind of New Year resolution kind of thing, but lots of them have said, right, my objective for next year is, and I'm going to do it. So I hope for them that they do follow through with their wishes now. They stay motivated. They work hard, and eventually they'll get there. I was at a class this week actually that I hadn't seen for a very long time, and the difference was incredible. Like, I hadn't been for sort of 5-6 months, and I was like, guys, like, look how far you've come, and they were so happy and so motivated. So I told them, keep going in the new year, and you'll keep improving. So that's my wish for them.
Excellent, very good. Graham.
And yours, Graham.
Mine. Okay. I was in Madrid 2 days, and now I'm back in sunny Malaga. So, colleagues in Barcelona and Madrid, I hope you don't get a cold. I will be sitting down here nice. So my Christmas message is to you to wrap up and don't get a cold.
I know, I'm off in the hassle today, so I'm going to die. I've got my winter jacket. And Ranmila, what about yourself?
Me, just wish Christmas and reduce the New Year's resolutions to learn English in a very simple, because English is simple. So let's offer our students the best of us. And then, guys, those who trust Oxbridge, the Oxbridge English teaching system, just know that we make easy what's already easy. So English is easy, and we make it easy.
It's
And you,
true.
Carlos?
Yes. Well, listen, I am dreaming.
You're dreaming.
I am
Are you
dreaming.
going to give us a little sing
I'm
song?
dreaming. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the one we used to know.
I'm feeling very awkward right now.
May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
Amazing.
Well done, Carlos.
Fair
So-
play to you, fair play.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you, guys. Great, that was amazing. And we will be back on the 11th of January, hopefully. I wish you all Merry Christmas
Merry
and a Happy
Christmas.
New Year, and my best wishes for everyone who's watching.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.